Hello everybody, my name is Polos. Welcome back, or hello if you're new here. Today I have for you my first Moonbreaker playtest gameplay intro overview in-depth, whatever you want to call it. The first video that actually has some substance and gameplay and a look at the game for the first time for me. Well, I mean, I played all day yesterday, but the first look, you know what I'm getting at here, okay? All right, don't give me such a hard time. But yeah, so Moonbreaker, if you don't already know, it is a digital board game strategy, kind of XCOM, kind of card gamey. It's a really big amalgamation of things here. And it is developed by Unknown Worlds, who also developed Subnautica and Natural Selection. And it is on its first playtest right now, first public playtest. So if you haven't already and you're curious about the game, be sure to go to Steam, search Moonbreaker, and then scroll down, and there should be a button saying something like, I want into the playtest, and you should be able to get in. Now, this playtest will go until Sunday, the 11th, but there will also be a second playtest next weekend. So if you missed this one or you're busy this weekend, they've got you covered. Now, the game will be releasing into early access on September 19th. So this is the first time the public have gotten their hands on it. There's been internal playtesting and friends and family playtesting for a while now, but this is the first time that embargoes are lifted, NDAs are done. The public can finally see and stream and make videos with Moonbreaker. So without further ado, let's get right into the game. And the first thing that we'll look at is the settings menu. So top right hand corner, gear icon, and go into options, and we have a couple tabs here at the top. There are a bunch of different languages here for localization. I'm not sure if this also changes the voiceovers. I do know that it changes all the text. So that's something that, you know, if you do speak French or Spanish, German, what have you, definitely be looking into that. There's also an option here for opponent paint schemes. By default, it is turned on, so you would see the custom paint schemes that your opponent has created for their miniatures. But if for whatever reason, maybe they're offensive to you or they're really distracting or whatever, you can always pop into the settings and turn those off. And that updates in real time. So if you're a streamer worried about, you know, oh my gosh, I don't want penises on my stream or whatever, you can have this off by default, or in a pinch, quickly turn it off. Also, currently, there are only 2 matchmaking regions for the playtest, North America and Asia, though they have talked about adding, you know, Europe in the future there. There's also an option for subtitles. You can turn those on or off. You have a setting for the size of the subtitles, all the way up to 400% and as low as 50%, and the subtitle speed. And then here we have a pro mode. So if you don't want all those basic tooltips or helpers, then this is the button that you would press to get rid of those. Going on to the graphics, it's pretty bare bones at the moment. You have full screen and windowed. You have, your preset quality, which starts at medium and goes to ultra, and you have your resolutions. For audio, again, pretty basic here. You have different sliders for voice, music, effects, ambiance, and then a master volume slider with the ability to reset all those as well. Input, you have your general tab. So this is, all the just rotating, zooming, escaping, just in general. Then more specifically, we have the in-game keybinds, and all these can be obviously rebound. There's also up here gamepad input that you could select. Enabling the edge scroll. I'm going to quickly go through these, and you can, hotkey these to whatever you want. There are also specific painting keybinds, so if some of them don't feel intuitive to you, you can always change those around, and also, of course, reset them. And privacy, there is a streamer mode, and this will hide your user ID, which is right up here. It's just asterisk right now, and also in the menu, there would be a user ID there. And also hides, I presume, the amount of currency you have. And you can also view the privacy policy. So, clicking out of that, we have one other thing to check out here as well. So, up here in the top right, this little book and question mark is where you will find the in-game video tutorial. So, you can click through on each of it's one video, but clicking these will basically advance the chapter. I currently have it muted, but you know, if I'm just curious about how to attack, then there we go. Or assists. Or actually, I need to learn how Cinder works, so we jump back to that. And there's also the painting video tutorial. So if there's, you know, this is a great place to start for new players. If you know, are just getting into the game, you don't have any idea what's going on, that is the spot for you. This quick start button here, which you can also see on the main menu, is actually the gameplay tutorial. So this will launch you immediately into a tutorial situation and scenario where you will learn the basics of the gameplay. So before we jump into the collection, we're going to look at the season track. So this, for the duration of the playtest, is just, none of this is earnable. It's just kind of in place to kind of get a feel for things. But there are 50 total levels, and each season track will go in depth with a captain. So this time it's Exterior, and we're learning all about his transformation from Deathbot to not so mean guy, presumably. And in this season track, you have, you know, it's cosmetics, but then it's also the main currency of the game, blinks, and booster boxes, which allow you to get units as well. And as you can see here, we have different banner shapes, we have paints, profile images, we have aura skins. So this is like the unit rarity, and this is what it would look like with a legendary unit, or rarity at least. And this has no effect on actual gameplay. It doesn't give you more stats. It is purely a cosmetic thing. You also have alternate paint jobs here. So Gloomside Exterior instead of the base Exterior there. And like I said, there are 50 levels to this. And there's actually, at the very end, is a skin. So skins confirmed to be in the game here, which is great. I mean, it's also important to note that all of this, as I'm going through all of this, it is all subject to change, right? It's in development. Just because that Exterior skin is there now doesn't mean it will be later. It doesn't mean it will be on 50. It doesn't mean that there will be 50 levels. There could be 300 levels. Like, this is a playtest. This is the first public playtest. So things will absolutely change. Another quick thing to point out here, I'm sort of hiding it, but the paint model. So you will have different objectives, presumably every day, that you'll be able to, or weekly perhaps, that you'll be able to complete to earn blanks, which again is the game's main form of currency. But now we can get into the collection area over here. So if you're wondering how to view all of the units or make a roster and also how to paint, you're going to be looking for this button here. And so we have two tabs on the left. We have units and rosters. We'll look at overall the units first. So up top, we have different ways to sort alphabetically by level. And by level, so there's a unit mastery system. So the more that you use a unit in game, the higher the level it becomes. And again, that is purely cosmetic. But you can sort by level here. You can also sort by rarity, which again is purely cosmetic. You can also filter by cultures. So if you only want to view smugglers or Cholek, you can filter those as well. Currently, there is no way to filter by keyword if I type like melee or something, but hopefully they will implement something like that in the future. There's also a different grid view here, so if you want a bigger, close up for your units, but fewer of them, or if you want to look at more of them, but not quite as detailed in this view. And from here, we can click on a unit. We can click and drag. We can zoom this in, but we can't pan this. So you can't actually middle mouse and pan it around. To do that, you'd have to go into the paint mode. But here, so there's a lot of information here. So at top, it tells you the name of it, that it is a crew and not a captain. And then this is the unit mastery here. So the top bit here shows you what rank it is within the Methodori, currently unranked. And then the step below that shows you your progress towards the next rank, which would be novice. And again, this has no effect on gameplay and is purely for cosmetic purposes. Here we have three different tabs. We have a gameplay tab, a lore tab, and a stats tab. For the gameplay tab, you can see the cost of the unit in Cinder here, which is 6. Again, you see their name, you see what culture they belong to and what rank in that culture they have currently for you. And then if they have an ability, either an active ability that costs Cinder or a passive, it is displayed here. And any keywords as well will also be hoverable. Here at the bottom, we have what would be attack, but this unit can't attack. And so this icon is in its place. And then also its health value. Swapping to the lore, there's a little lore tidbit for each of these units. And currently there's nothing in the stats tab, and I don't know what they plan to put there eventually. Up here though, this is where you would actually upgrade your unit rarity, which again, purely cosmetic. But you can see how many merits. So this is a currency that's like dust or shards in Legends of Runeterra that you get for receiving duplicate units. You can use those to upgrade to a higher rarity, which is purely a cosmetic effect. And you can also click here to see what that would look like when summoning the unit or when it dies. All right. And now, so getting into, well, how do I actually paint things? So again, if we started back at this main menu, we just go collect and paint. We click on any unit here that we want. And then this button here, paint, will take you into the individual area for painting. And it starts you off with just, you know, a grid view here, rather. We have the default scheme at top. And so again, within this, you can use left mouse button to rotate, you can use right to drag it around, and then middle mouse to pan. And of course, the wheel to zoom it in or out. At the top, we can either create a new scheme, and doing so will revert it to the, you know, base gray color. Or if you instead think, oh, you know, this looks really good, but maybe I want to replace this orange with a different color, you could duplicate it and then change it as you want to there. For the purposes of this, though, we are going to go ahead and make a new one. And again, I am not good at painting. I don't know, you know, what all of these do specifically on the side here. You know, you have painting, washing, dry brushing, airbrushing, stippling, and decals, which aren't currently available, but will be in the future. So I'm not going to be able to go too in depth here. I'm going to be able to show you the basics, but I would definitely recommend a different video if you're looking for more painting tips. But for the very basics here, so on the right hand side, we have the different palettes. So you have, you know, smoke palette, sun, sea, and each of these have a name as well. And you can also make your own colors. So if, you know, we'll take this elixir life color here, maybe you want to brighten it up a little bit, so we'll get some enlightened from Flora, bring those two together, and we've got a new color in there. So to save that, we do add custom palettes, click this button to add here, and then click over what color we want. Let's say right that right there, and there we go. So that is a new color. And unfortunately, you can't rename that color, but you can rename the palette, you know, pretty, oh, you actually have to touch in there, pretty colors. All right. And then bam, there you go. And you can also, so if you want to take a color off of a unit already, you know, duplicate the scheme, you say, wow, this blue is really nice. You can do that same thing, and you can select whatever color you want, and then bam, there you go. It's saved right there. Now, if you want to get rid of this here, you just press this little dusty thingy, and that is gone. Let's go back to our blank here to start from scratch. So a couple tools also, there's an auto masking tool, and all of these have keybinds attached to them. So if you can eventually memorize all these and make this a lot faster for yourself. But there's an auto masking tool. So for example, let's go turn that on, right? And let's say I want to paint, you know, this part here, anything with this kind of texture, what have you, then it will only paint on that texture or material or whatever it uses to determine that. And I can zoom out and I can just really get everything here. So this helps you, you know, not painting outside the lines if you don't want to. It helps with detail work or just, you know, really quickly going over something with maybe a wash or what have you. All right, and again, you can just turn that off if you just want to paint to your heart's content. And oh no, I made an oopsies here. Well, right here we have the undo, Control Z, of course, and then you could redo that if you wanted. So Very nice, not like real life where you can't undo things. Moving over to the left-hand side of the screen, we have a slider up here. This changes the brush size. So all the way at maximum, you'll be able to cover a lot. Whereas if you take it down to near 0, you can work on a lot finer details or what have you. Also, here is your current color. Here we have a color picker again, and then below this we have opacity. So again, if you want to lower this, you know, I'll just do a little bit of, bring this brush size up, a little bit of shading here maybe. You know, where I'm going full hog, I want it all blue. All right, very basic, but also like very advanced. I mean, you can get really crazy with this. And all of the models, so going back to this model, these are painted with the in-game tool. So none of these, you know, were with a third party or Photoshop or anything like that. All of these are painted with in-game tools, which I think is really neat because it, you know, it's something you can accomplish eventually. And again, if you press tab, you can hide that UI there as well. Getting back into roster building now, I have to move my camera a bit for the different UIs here. But again, so how to access this, you'll go to collect and paint. Rosters down here second, and so the game will set you up with some basic rosters to start. And with these you can see, you know, all of their the stats here really quickly, and also, you know, what units you have. And then if you want to make a new roster, so you just go top left here, new roster, and there is an option if you're, you know, I just want to autofill something, I want something real quick, there's this option here to autofill if you'd like, but we're not going to do that. But it is nice, you know, I don't know what extra unit to put in, and then easy peasy, there you go. Of course, you can rename your roster, so we'll go new rooster. Yep, that is what it's called. You can also change your banner here. So again, you have, you know, different crests at the top. You have different shapes that you can use, different patterns on these as well. And of course, you can change the color to whatever you'd like. You can also just totally do a random banner. Looks good. It looks good to me. And this is where you'll be able to select your rarity, your kind of what the rarity looks like. And these will be unlocked. Currently, they're unlocked through the season pass, but I'm sure there will be more ways to unlock them in the future. So that will be selected for your whole roster. Now to actually build the roster, so if you're building a roster for just a basic game, then you will need 1 captain and 10 crew. So you just simply click on a slot and it'll show you the available captains. We're gonna go with Astra. But within this, you can either add it to your roster here, or you can magnifying glass to get a more detailed look again, go over any of those keywords and their abilities. You can't move the model at all here, but you could go into paint mode from here as well. Exiting that though, you can do that with either your left click or your escape. We'll add Astra here, and then we're gonna pick a couple more units. I really like this little pyro guy. We'll add in this vine looking thing, some Cholek. We'll add this little lizard guy. And so yeah, there's no restriction. So I chose a Methadori captain, but I'm not restricted to just the Methadori culture. I can include cultures of Cholek or Smuggler or whatever I want. You are limited though by, I can't include 2 Toxoids, for example. You can only have 1 of each unit in your roster, but you could have whatever different, you know, cinder cost, whatever different cultures you would like. Really, you can just customize it to your liking entirely. And then and you can also, you don't have to do it in any order or anything, right? You can add one over here. Let's go add Maximus, who's one of my favorite units. And let's just autofill the rest in. And bang, there we go, there's our roster. You can also view this by the list up here. So get a little detailed. None of this is sorted, unfortunately, but you can at the very least see, you know, okay, well, I got some 1 cinder, some 2 cinders. You know, the range, so ranged is the blue with a little crosshair, and melee is the yellow with more spiky bits. If you say, I actually don't want this Lancer here, right, you can either swap them, or you can just get rid of them and then add a new crew as you'd like. But that is the basics of how to build the roster. Then you just go down here, you'd save it, and then there it is. And you can also go in to then customize it at any time. Now, getting into the meat and bones of this all is the gameplay, right? So with the gameplay, all we have to do, again, navigating from the main menu, over here on the left-hand side, if we hit play, there are 3 different modes currently. Versus player, where you'll be matched randomly with another player in your region. And this will earn you season track and unit mastery experience currently for each match. Versus AI, where you will fight off against an AI opponent, and this currently does not reward you experience towards season track or unit mastery. And then the cargo run mode. So cargo run is a roguelite mode. You have a smaller crew. You only have, I believe, 6 crew and then 1 captain. And you will be going on 5 separate little gameplay missions, basically, with increasing difficulty, random cargo dropping in to give you bonuses. And currently you can only use their preset rosters here. I have to imagine in the future we'll be able to test that with whatever units we'd like, though. At least I hope so. Again, a lot of is subject to change. But so we will be doing versus AI. But just to show you the versus player stuff as well here. So there's an option of either a public match or a private match. And you can input a password here. Because I have streamer mode selected, it isn't going to show me that password. But I could randomly generate it. And I can also then copy it to my clipboard and paste it to my friend. For private matches, you are able to turn the turn timer off. So there's normally an 85-second turn timer. But you can turn that off if you'd like by deselecting it there. And again, you can go back and look at your roster, look over abilities here, and same thing here. But again, we are actually going to be doing versus AI, so we have plenty of time. But I will be walking you through, I'll be playing out a full game, hopefully we win, and I'll just be going with Extillier's, the default roster that they gave us here. So let's get into the game. These are very quick load times also, which I really appreciate. So we'll see the captains come down. So that was my captain, and it's a mirror matchup. We have an Extillier on their team as well. And what you're seeing here is at the beginning of each game, you will draw a hand of 4. And before we go any further with that, these are the assists. So every game there are, I don't know how many assists there are. I believe it's 10 total assists. And you will be able to select them here. They are randomly combined together. So Plink won't always be with charged Nano Shield, and my opponent will also have different assists to choose from. Right now, though, I think we'll go with charged Nano Shield and Plink. And so these abilities, these are ship assists, and they don't cost any Cinder, they just have a charge time. So here we can see a charge time of 4, and Plink is 1, so it can be used every turn. So we start it with our opponent's turn, and I'll let them go, and then we'll get into kind of the basics of gameplay. This looks like they're going to be summoning a unit from their bridge. And then moving their captain. So it's our turn. All right. So before we actually get into any of this UI down here, some basics here. So movement isn't grid-based or anything. It is just within the range that you're able to. And this is blocked by different covers, whether soft or hard. And, you know, you can clearly not go inside of this, and that prevents movement there as well. Now, cover blocks movement, and it reduces accuracy, whether you're behind it or in front of it. So there's, you know, if you're behind it and someone's shooting at you, they have reduced accuracy against you. But then if you are shooting behind it toward them, you also have reduced accuracy. There are also things like low visibility, so these steam vents reduce the accuracy as well for units shooting through them. And again, some controls here. So this is as far as you can zoom out. You can move around with middle mouse and drag. You can use WASD to move around. And then you can also hit Q and E to rotate it ever so slightly. You're able to zoom in to this level to view some, you know, sweet environmental designs, or, you know, your captain or your units. So getting into some of the UI here. So we'll start left to right on the bottom. So we have the reinforce ability. So this will, for 3 cinder here, it will take a random crew and add it to the bridge. So again, roster is made up of 10 units, right? 10 crew members. But you don't start with all 10 crew at the beginning. You start with a hand of 4. And these will be in your bridge. That number 4 is denoted here. It's also denoted here. And then how many crew you have still in your ship in the reserve are denoted here. And you can also see all of them listed. And if their name is grayed out, then it means they're currently in the bridge. So from the bridge, we can look at the units. We can look at their, movement range. We can see, their keywords here. So immobile, airborne, poison, all these kinds of things. And again, at the bottom, we see the cinder cost to summon them in. So by default, at the beginning of the match, you're going to start with 1 cinder here. And this will go up by 1 every turn until you hit a cap of 7 a turn. And now up to 3 of those cinder, if I don't spend this 1 cinder, it'll go into my bank. And up to 3 cinder can remain there for the next turn. Then to the right of that, we have our ship assists, which again, these do not cost cinder and instead are on a cooldown. So in this case, I have charged nano shield, which will give an ally invulnerable for a turn. And then also plink, which will either restore 1 health to an ally or deal a damage to a rival. Lastly, behind me, which you can't see, is the end turn button. And then also, if we look up on the top of the screen at the UI, we can see the enemy's bridge, the crew that they're able to deploy. We can see their reserve. You can also mute them if you need to by clicking this button. You can see how much cinder they have. You can see their ship assist abilities here. Now, we don't know what they are because they haven't actually used any of them yet, but we can see them here. And those are pretty much the basics. So getting into the actual gameplay itself, I guess another thing to note here is with the unit itself. So with Extilior here, we have his health, which all captains have 20 HP. And again, this number here denotes that it's 2 damage for his attack. And since it's a yellow spiky thing, that means he's a melee, which you can also read over here. Now, under him, there are 3 different colors. There's green, which stands for the movement. There is his melee, which is red. And then if he has any abilities, which he does. So he has 1 ability which we can use, which is why that's lit up. And then the other one we can't. He also has a passive ability that would activate a random ally within range, will give Shield of Hope, which is his ability here, which reduces the damage by 1. So, if you're curious to see how, what units have, if a unit has a movement left or attack, or if it can use another ability, that's really handy there. And you can also select tab to switch to your next unit. We of course only have 1 right now, so it only moves us to Extilior. But I can use plink, so I'm definitely going to do that. And the objective of this mode is just kill the captain. Kill the enemy captain. The first to do that wins. You don't have to kill all their units. You don't have to, get rid of all their reserves. You merely have to kill the captain. But sometimes units can get in the way, so we might want to eliminate them first. I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna plink poor Extilior here with some debris from my ship, and I'm gonna start my way moving forward. Now this person has a ranged attack, so I'll probably want to take some form of cover. And you can see also that, so currently where he is, nobody has line of sight on him. But if I were to move him out, a red line appears, which shows that there is line of sight to an enemy. I'll go ahead and move him there. I can use Shield of Hope in case I get plinked from this person, which I might as well do. But if I hadn't have used that, it would have gone into my Cinder Reserve as well. So we'll go ahead and end turn. And it's important to note too that ranged attacks in this game don't have a range. As long as you have line of sight, you can shoot your opponent. You can shoot anything. So there, they had an accuracy penalty shooting through this low visibility area, and they did manage to get a hit on me, but I had my Shield of Hope on, so I didn't actually take damage from that. Again, we'll start off with Plink. I think we'll go ahead and just Plink Extilior again. This time, again, some random ship debris dropping down. I don't have enough to summon anybody for my bridge quite yet, and I also don't have enough to reinforce. We do have enough, though, for Sword of Justice, which would deal damage to units in range, but I don't think that I can make it into range this turn. If I manage to get here, though, I will be at least currently out of range of their unit, their Maximus, but he can move next turn and easily get in range for me. So I think maybe we'll try to we'll do big brain play moves. We're gonna go right back where we started, Shield of Hope, and just wait for some reinforcements to come here. And the opponent's calling in another unit here. And they just revealed one of their ship assists, so Cinder Infusion. And now I can keep track of that. I will be able to see every turn how close it is to coming off of cooldown. And being shot at again, both miss, thankfully. And Maximus can shoot twice because he has the ability Rapid Fire, which means that it attacks twice. And that's for range. There's also Pummel, which means that melee can attack twice. I think again, we just plink the old Extilier, look at our bridge, and so we have a couple units to choose from here. I kind of want to get up close and personal, and Jailbreak will help me do that. They have Lockup, which means that any rival that they are touching are immobilized, so they can't move. And I can deploy this anywhere within, you know, the range of my captain. And if you deploy it too close to enemies, they might end up getting killed because by default, there's Summoning Sickness. So you summon that unit, but they won't be able to act for a turn. So I might plop them down behind some cover here. And we can see the Summoning Sickness. They are stunned here. Clicking on them, it also says that they're stunned. They have this little blue element there showing us that. I think I'm going to try to go on the offensive a little bit here, get close to their Maximus and their Arya here to hopefully get in melee range and start dishing out some damage next turn. We'll see what the opponent does. It does. And they're going straight after my poor Jailbreak. Paying no attention to my captain, which might ultimately end up hurting them, though, because then Extilier can just come in and whoop them. Looks like the enemy summoned another unit again. And they moved. Alright, so it's our turn. So probably going to use Charged Nano Shield now, and let's see. So you can do this in any order you want also. Like, I could move Jailbreaker, move them right here, and then go decide I want Extilier to move over here, and then go back to Jailbreaker and still use my melee. So it's not like you have to exhaust all options for a unit in a single, you know, activation of them. There isn't like an activation. They're all activated, and then you can just use them until, you know, you've moved or meleeed or used an ability. So I'm going to go ahead and plop Invulnerability down, so that unit isn't going to take any damage this turn. And we're going to just start punching. Probably want to punch Maximus, because he's real slippery. Though he is currently stuck because I'm touching him, so he's immobilized. Extilier here, I can use Sword of Justice. So that'll deal 3 damage to everything in the AoE here. And it will hurt my unit, but I'm invulnerable, so it doesn't matter. And also, we still have the melee ability, so I'm going to go ahead and take out their unit there that buffs. It would have buffed the attack of everybody else. I'm going to pop Shield of Hope on myself to reduce that incoming damage, and then again, plink Extilier. And then that's our turn done, and it looks like we threw a fish. We threw a fish at the poor guy. So on to the opponent's turn. See what they do. Again, my guy's invulnerable, so I'm not too concerned about him. Ooh, an Extilier. Their Extilier just used their ability, and it deals damage to all units in range, right? So they just hurt their own unit for 3 as well, which is really a boon for me. They weren't able to damage, of course, my Jailbreak, but so they focused on Extilier instead, but that's perfectly okay. I think here I'm going to plink off Arya here. Get rid of her. And then, so we just saw the passive ability from Extilier activate. So a random ally within range gains Shield of Hope when a rival is destroyed. So that will reduce the damage that they take by 1, which will be pretty nice. And now we have some decisions to make. We could bring in more boys, Though we have to be careful grouping around Extilior because he can just cleave us all for 3 damage. So I might plop down a Snareling, or we can reinforce. I think we might reinforce, see what we get. Awesome, so Detonia. So she doesn't actually have attack herself, but she does have an ability that will lob a grenade that deals 2 damage in an area. So Jailbreak, he's definitely dying this next turn, so we got to figure out what to do with him to make the most value here. I think I'm gonna move closer to the Extilior and just try to rush him down. So as you saw there, so if you strike a melee unit, they have a retaliation, which means that they will hit you back, which I actually forgot about. Okay, it's like I haven't played this very much. So if I would have instead attacked, you know, Arya, who has a ranged attack, I wouldn't have actually received any damage back there. But I think we're gonna get close to these guys, so next turn we can Sword of Justice. We'll go ahead and Sword of Hope, so it reduces the damage I'll take from the Retaliate on this Extilior here. And just Pounce. They have Cinder Infusion available next turn, so they're probably gonna use that to heal 1 and gain some extra Cinder. Though they kind of capped themselves on their Cinder there. Not the greatest use of that there. Oh, so yes, so abilities, attacks can crit. And those will deal double damage. So that's something to definitely be looking out for. Alright, we're in a bit of a, like, we're gonna have a lot of damage potentially coming in here. We have 2 turns until we can be invuln, but I think I'm just gonna try to keep applying the pressure here. I'm gonna go ahead and just plink Extilior, kind of like, you know, a base race essentially, trying to burst them down before they can burst me down. We're gonna lob a grenade here. There's no way to not hit. I definitely should have done this first and then moved Extilior in, right? But you live and you learn. I want I want to melee him, but he's gonna hurt me in return. I think I do though. I think that I do. Because we're at 10. This can deal 3 to us. He can deal a total of like 5 to us. So I don't want to deal any more damage to my own unit. But we'll definitely deal some damage to this. Probably move her also over here. And then just assuming we aren't crit, we should survive this next turn. But we'll have to see. Alright, good. They use that on my unit instead of me, my captain, which is great. Moving themselves around back there, taking them out. I don't care. They're just fodder at this point. I'm pretty sure we just... So they'll -1 damage from my melee, so they'll take 1 damage, which will put them at 3, and then Sword of Justice will finish them off. But let's plink for the sake of it, for the sake of throwing fish at people. Or a rock in this case. We want to make sure we save enough, but let's just deploy another unit just for the heck of it. Oh, Crankbait. And Crankbait has this little, you know, the wind pattern flowing past them, and that's because of fast, which increases the movement range there. So again, there's a lot of that visual clarity with keywords, which is really nice. Alright, so to finish this off, I think we're not quite in melee range of Extilior, so we're gonna have to move closer to him. And then we're gonna melee the boy. He's gonna hurt us in return. Ooh, he crit. So we're almost dead, but a Sword of Justice will finish it off. And because that was versus AI mode, we didn't actually receive any experience from that. Though I, again, hope that they change that in the future. As somebody who's very casual focused, I definitely don't want just the cargo run to be able to earn experience in unit mastery. But yeah, so that was the game, right? That was a nice little bit of gameplay there. We went over all the menus, all the UI, all of that kind of stuff. And overall, I mean, it looks really good. Let me just go. We'll go out of game here. We'll go over to my outro screen. I'm so not usually. I just take pictures of everything and kind of scroll through those. So the whole actually having live gameplay for me in my videos is a first. At least a first since I used to make videos way long ago. But anyway, Moonbreaker, looking really solid so far. There's more videos I want to make. I want to make a, you know, like going over each individual unit and their abilities and how they work. But as we don't currently have the stats tab for units, I kind of want to hold off on that until we do, which I assume will be early access. So be expecting a video then about that. But yeah, I think, you know, considering it'll be in early access for 1 to 2 years after this, on the 29th at least, you know, I think it's looking good. Obviously there's some polishing and more options and maybe, you know, giving the game a better flow overall that I think could be worked on. But of course that, you know, that's what these playtests are for. That's what early access will be for. But so far it's all looking really good. So again, if you want to try this out for yourself, be sure to go to Steam, Moonbreaker. You can request access on the page there by scrolling down just a little bit. The playtest this weekend goes until Sunday, and then there will be a playtest next weekend as well. So I hope you all enjoyed. I hope the audio levels weren't too screwy. Again, first time doing this in like forever. Really out of my comfort zone on this one. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, y'all, and I will see you next time. Bye!